Hey guys!
Happy Saturday and welcome back to
Latte and Foam. We are back with another Otome news so soon, mind you, but we have a couple of hot topics coming up. First, we definitely have to talk about the scandalous stuff going on with Anime Expo. We have a little bit of Otome news, and we are responding to a video that was responding to our other Otome news video. So we are back in action. I'm gonna let Kayla take it away.
Yes. So a lot of you guys probably know Anime Expo. It is, I think, the biggest anime convention in the entire United States, maybe even North America in general. They're really well respected. They get all of the top guests. They actually get a lot of Japanese guests even, which kind of like ties into this story. Social media erupted when they posted a panel announcement. It was for Japanese voice actors. It was a panel on that. And the image was very clearly AI. You can see one of the guy's fingers is like going into the mic. Obviously, the reaction from everyone was the same in that they were upset by the use of AI, being that you're looking at a community of creators, people who enjoy art. Artists themselves obviously attend expos in mass, so people were very upset by it. But I noticed that there was two different perspectives. The first bucket was that Anime Expo is at fault. This image is on their social media. On top of that, they mentioned that there were some capsule images on their website and other social posts that appeared to be using AI. Maybe not as obvious as this one, but they were suspecting other ones. This is the biggest anime convention in the country. How can you not afford an artist? Even like a cheaper artist to just do a couple images? Or why not just use live screen caps of voice actors in motion? Like, why do you have to do AI art of all things? Then the second bucket is it's actually the individual panelists that are at fault, because the social team at AX is simply posting what's provided to them, and if this is the image that's provided to them, they're just going to post it. I think that's a little bit wild, because I feel like if you are taking a stance against that as somebody who champions artists like an anime convention should, you would be like, hey, this appears to be AI and we don't support that. Can you provide a different image? So I still feel like even if it was the panelist, then they should have done something about it. But yeah, so that group of people are saying it's the panelists. And as I said, the panelists are from Japan. So I actually did see a number of comments specifically attacking the Japanese artist community, saying that they don't care about AI art. And that's obviously because it's the Japanese Foundation for Voice Actors who did this, and they're just kind of mixing it in that way. But I found this really odd and appalling because I don't get where they're seeing that at all. I follow a ton of Japanese artists. We work with Japanese artists, and all of them post on their personal pages about the fact that they hate AI art. So I thought that was a really weird take. AX ended up taking down the post and they never provided a statement, so we're not really sure who's at fault in the end. So you guys can let us know what you think. Yana, do you have any thoughts on who you think's at fault in this situation?
It's a twofold thing, right? If you are the overall expo, it's like you guys are still the boss of all of that stuff. So to say we just took the art that was provided, you still have the due diligence to check and say is this AI? We don't want to promote that. This is a huge platform. Here's a couple of artists that we can recommend that can get you artwork right away. Let us know and then be done. I also feel like as the company that's providing it, you know that this is not okay. On the a lot of the cusp, and I don't know if you guys have seen, a lot of voice actors are within the SAG-AFTRA voice actor video game strike, which means that it's not that they can never take on union work, but some do, some are in solidarity of it because of AI. So this is such a kind of blow to that movement and the support that you want to all these people that are coming out to this event, having to do this work, and then kind of see it go up in flames saying you guys just don't care, that this is AI might steal their voice, their likeness, all of the hard work that goes into our work. And I'm saying, as two people who work in a community that work with artists, just icky. I think everybody makes mistakes, and you can definitely apologize and say, hey, we shouldn't have done that, and I won't do that again. But on a platform like that, Anime Expo to me is the number one at fault for it, because I don't want to say at fault, but they are equally as responsible for those who provided it to just say something like, hey, we don't want to have any AI art before posting it. And they should do the due diligence to respond to it out loud on their social media platform. The apology has to be just as big as the disrespect. So just saying we acknowledge it happened. we're sorry that this happened.
Yeah, and like saying point for point what you're going to do going forward, because I don't know if they care or realize, but they're like in such a position to uplift these high-risk communities when it comes to the threat of AI. You're talking about voice actors, artists, anime fans. So when you're somebody who works with that community of people and you're on the business side and you're influential and you're massive, what an opportunity for you to stand up as a voice against AI and be an advocate. And I think that that's the responsibility that anybody that works with artists but is on the business side has, because you hold the keys and you're the only one that can be an advocate, because you're the one either hiring or using AI. You're the one making that choice. And that's why it's so important to us in our business to not work with anybody who supports using AI instead of doing their own creative work. But yeah, that's just kind of our thoughts on that situation. And the general sentiment from everyone is like, dang, if a company this big that works with all of our communities is using AI, there's no hope for the rest of us.
All right, so for our next topic is Otome announced. I know they're going to be actually at Anime Expo, and they're going to make. Everybody thought that they're going to make this huge announcement there. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't, but I kind of understand why they did. They are releasing a third app. So if you don't know, the first ever app was Otome. It took the world by freaking storm. We're basically going to, I think it's Devildom, if I remember correctly. Kayla and I actually, yes, which is so funny. I don't know if Kayla has it in the archives, but we tried multiple times to create this video to talk about it, to like go through the playthrough, and every time we were like in our highest of energy. We were like, it's just as it was not that fast going and interesting to me. But basically, you end up in Devildom. You can date one of the basically different versions of devils. There's like a lot to go with Otome in a general spot. I think that there was like dance battles, if I remember correctly, but yeah, it had its lifespan, and I think that it just kind of ran out of story. I think the MC too was very much like every other line you chose what they said, which I find hard sometimes, but it kind of ran out of its life, and they brought in their second app. I think it was in 2023 maybe that the app came out. 2023, I can't remember specifically, but it was called Nightbringer, and it was basically the precursor if you would have went back to when they first got kicked out of heaven, which everybody kind of, nobody really was like that into, that I remember. It wasn't sweeping the like storm like Otome. If you were an Otome girl, like they say one wrong thing, bam, that's it. And so I feel like Nightbringer just did not have the same life breathed into it as the original Otome, and it kind of fizzled out. And now they're coming out with a third app that's really more on this side of like trying to play onto the romance of it all, or like the side quest, which I find odd that they would do that in like a third app. I will say technically Mr. Love did the same thing. They had a secondary app that they ended up having to shut down because it just wasn't as popular, where it was like the side quest and the dating, which I'm like, why would you not just put that in the main game? Like, I'm so confused. But a lot of people did comment saying like, oh, we all look like fools because we're going to go back. But like, what happens when this game kind of expires too? Like, what's going to happen? Otome is just trying to reinvigorate what was so popular. I mean, at its height was making $1.2 million a month, and then just kind of slowly trickled down. And I say this with, again, most gacha games. There is only so much life when you don't have a true like main story end to anything. So I'm very curious as to what they think that's going to happen this time. What they're going to do. Are they just going to have a bunch of different side quests where you're just with the guy? Like, what is it? You know, I wonder too if the rise and the resurgence of how freaking popular Love and Deepspace. And I will say this. Love and Deepspace would not have been nearly as popular if it wasn't for in a game like Otome, and I would even give credit to Mystic Messenger. Without a game like Otome first, Love and Deepspace would not have nearly been as popular because it was never introduced. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and not to say that Love and Deepspace doesn't have its own stake in the game and its own thing to make it as popular. I'm just saying Otome walked so Love and Deepspace could run.
Yeah, I feel like all of them kind of build and build and build, and Love and Deepspace was like, just, it came at the perfect time for that. Like, there was, I think right before it, Tears of Themis was really popular. Right before that, Mr. Love, and then obviously Otome. I do want to go ahead and read their announcement really quick. Announcing a new Otome app. Dear all exchange students and devil sitters, thank you for your constant support of the Otome series. First and foremost, we would like to say welcome back. Thanks to the collaboration and support of Creek and River Co. Limited and Flags Inc., we're excited to bring you a brand new Otome experience. I want to flag that really quick. That's interesting that it's two companies. I wonder if it's the case that these companies came to Shall We Date Otome and was like, hey, can we license this and create our own app? Because it's a successful franchise that isn't really doing anything at the moment. I kind of think that might be the case.
Yeah.
Unlike previous titles, this new app will be a lifestyle app that lets you connect more intimately with the brothers, from good morning to good night. When the app launches, your relationship with the 7 brothers will take a step further, offering a deeper and more personal romantic experience than ever before. We will also be looking to add additional characters in future updates. Together with Obey Me and Obey Me Nightbringer, this new app will continue to invite you into daily life in Devildom, now with a fresh twist. To all our cherished exchange students and Devil Sitters, thank you for your continued love and support of the Obey Me series. With the combined efforts of all 3 companies, we will work to bring you the most immersive Devildom experiences yet. So stay tuned and look forward to future updates. We remain committed to providing the content that you love, and thank you once again for your continued support. We hope you'll be back in Devildom for our next adventure. Kind of crazy, kind of interesting, kind of vague. It's unsure what they mean, if it's going to be like actual routes, because they talk about adding additional characters. I think some people picked up on that.
Some of the comments say, Obey Me is like the toxic ex that you love so much you always go back to no matter how badly they treat you. And so someone said that it's going to be like an actual dating sim now. And then, of course, people are like, looks like there will be separate routes, which is what people obviously would like. 3rd time's the charm is what Beagled_ said. And then someone else said, genuinely curious, are y'all going to abandon this one as well in 1 to 2 years? While I'm grateful we're getting another Obey Me app that surrounds romanticizing the characters, which is kind of the whole point, what it should have always been. You're getting a lot of people's hopes up. You had 2 other games with unfinished storylines, so forgive me if I'm iffy. Unfinished storylines is wild.
That's crazy work. I didn't even realize they didn't finish the story. So we have a massive update to this topic. Obey Me not only announced the 3rd app is coming, but they have confirmed that it will be a gacha app again, and they released a Kickstarter for it. You heard that right. Entity Solmare, a multi-million-dollar company, is on Kickstarter as we speak. When Yana first texted me that they announced this, it was like 6 in the morning, and I sat up in bed. I was sick. I actually quote tweeted their announcement and just wrote my initial reaction right then and there. I said, as an indie dev who needs Kickstarter to make our game, this shocks me and feels gross. They made millions a month from their other apps. Why are they on Kickstarter? It siphons money away from indie creators who need to make the goal for their dream to happen. And I mean that. If an Otome fan who also loves Obey Me only has so much funds for the month, who do you think they're going to donate to? Probably Obey Me, not the other Otome campaign running right now, which is ours, Snow Kiss Romance. Anyways, I tweeted that, kind of forgot about it, went about my day, checked back later, and it kind of blew up. I was so happy to see people were actually agreeing with me, because it's frustratingly been the case that these gacha companies just get away with anything. Meanwhile, indie companies like ours are held to the highest standards. Anyway, here's some of the comments. Ash says, hard agree, I like Obey Me, but what are they doing on Kickstarter? They still are getting revenue from the other 2 apps, not to forget that the new app will be a gacha again, which the last one they supported for what, a year and a half? Black Bell Flower said, yeah, this is not a good look for them. The Incompetent Otoge Gamer said, a Kickstarter for a gacha game, a sequel at that, is really something. I responded to this one and said, truly, gacha are already the highest revenue apps and will continue to cost players throughout the life cycle, and now they want the money up front too? They responded, and it's in fact their 3rd game. There is no way their already available revenue from the previous games could not help fund this. They released a manga and anime. That's when I responded with some receipts, because me and Yana have been tracking these apps for a long time, especially because this is what we want to do with our life. We like to see what the competitors are doing, and there's actually an app called Sensor Tower where you can see how much revenue a company makes in a month. You can't go back historically unless you have a paid account, but I happen to have a screenshot from May of 2021, so just a couple years after the original app had come out, and for that singular month of May 2021, they made $1.7 million in 1 month. And this is like typical for them at this period. And going on Sensor Tower now, you can see in May of 2025, when the app is long not even supported, no new content anymore, they're still making bank. They made $40,000 on Apple and $20,000 on Google. So that's $60,000 in revenue for 1 single month at this late stage in the game. $60,000 would overfund our Kickstarter. Like, That's just crazy to me. And yet these people are on Kickstarter. So let's just get into that for a second. Their campaign kicked off on the 29th. And they blew past their goal, I think within the first day or couple days. They're already at $104,774 with 750 backers and 29 days left to go. And they have been getting a lot of heat for their rewards. Obviously, the heat isn't that strong because they overfunded, but even up to the $70 tier, oh, the yen is weak right now. I remember when 10,000 yen used to be like about $100. But yeah, in this 10,000 yen tier, you're getting no physical rewards and nothing like within the game that would allow you to have funds in game, if that makes sense. Like, I know it's not a complete game, but you're not getting diamonds or whatever you would use in a gacha game. You're just getting a thank you email, a digital wallpaper, and the inclusion of the thank you section of the app for $70. Just to compare to ours, at the $35 tier, you get the game. By the time you get to the $75 tier, you're getting the digital deluxe edition of the game. So that's going to include the digital game guide, so you can get all the secret endings and harem endings, as well as a digital art book. And then you'll get a small physical package too, including a thermal collector's postcard with art by Hanabi Bara, which are amazing 90s style artists. You'll get our bunny class Snowkiss keychain and a custom sticker set. So yeah, for that same amount of money, you're gonna get a full game with multiple endings and routes, and you're not getting any in-game currency for Obami's similar tier. Another tier that made waves was one of their high dollar tiers. It's close to $500, and it was a limit of only 20 spots, which it sold out of, and that includes a voiced line where one of the characters actually says your name, like, I love you, Kayla, for example. $500 for that. We don't have anything comparable to that amount of money on ours, but we have a $350 tier. You get a ton of physical rewards, including all 3 of the character plushies, and the super special part of that package is that you get to be a beta tester for the game. So yeah, basically, Obami's reward tiers are nowhere near in line with the standard that indie projects offer on Kickstarter, which is the whole point of Kickstarter. It's for indie projects. So why this multi-million-dollar corporation is on here beats me. I know they are doing it in collaboration with other companies, but they're heavily involved. They even state on the Kickstarter that they are involved in the project. They tweeted out the Kickstarter from their official Obami page, so for them to not put funds toward it is wild. But there's actually another larger YouTuber that saw my tweet and made an entire video about it. So if you want to hear more about the sentiments about the Obami Kickstarter, definitely check it out, and thank you to him for amplifying our voice.
They have a game called Snow-Kissed Romance, a 90s shoujo-inspired otome. So they're the same kind of game. Husbando romance games. The difference is one is done by a small indie dev group, the other is done by a multi-billion-dollar company that has infinite funds. And I mean, that's 100% valid. They are genuinely siphoning interest and money away from other Kickstarter campaigns.
He even shared our Kickstarter page, which was so sweet. Guys, we just passed 70% funding as of me recording this. While editing this Otome news, it's June 7th, and our campaign ends the morning of June 20th. So please, please guys, help make this a reality. This is actually our second time trying Kickstarter. The first time we didn't meet goal, and it is actually all or nothing funding. So nobody was charged from that round. We started completely over, and I really feel like it's possible this time. To think that there's 630 of you guys that have backed this project so far, thank you so much. Just imagining a room full of 630 people, it's wild. This project means so much to us. We set it in 1994 and 1995, which are Yana and I's birth years respectively. And the main thing is that it has gameplay. It's inspired by Japan-exclusive Otome games like Tokimeki Memorial and Angelique. So if you want to see more amazing dating sims like that in the West, please consider backing this project. When you back this, you're not just kickstarting this single game, but you're kickstarting our studio. We truly believe that when Snow-Kissed Romance is released in its full form, the success of that game will carry us to make more and more innovative titles. Any revenue we get from that will be put towards more games. Right now, when it comes to the AAA Otome market, in the West at least, there are a lot more games that have gotten localized, but they're all that visual novel style. So we'd love the opportunity to give you guys more choices with gameplay. And that's what this project's all about. That's what Kickstarter's all about. That's the reason it exists. So please consider backing us, and that's it for this update. Back to Past Canyon.
And somebody else says, I have no idea how y'all can be happy about this when they are clearly clutching at straws to get their player base back up, abandoning the game that made you as a company successful for a sequel money grab you realize people didn't like. So now you think releasing a third app will make your player base forget how embarrassingly little communication you have with them. Yeah, you know what this makes me think of too, like a little communication is when, what was that game that we did investigates not once but twice? Tokyo Debunker.
Oh yeah, what's up with Tokyo Debunker?
I don't hear nobody talking about that. I feel like Tokyo Debunker really shot themselves in the foot to release in a time frame that they were like, well, Love and Deepspace is doing well, we should too. Like, baby, keep that in the vault. That's not, you know.
Their font looks exactly like Twisted Wonderland. I think we brought that up before. I guess they're still at it.
I think that Tokyo Debunker saw Twisted Wonderland and just kind of try to copy in a way that stuff. And it's not like they could copy, you know, Love and Deepspace without being crazy. And they should have just kept their original thing. So either nobody was on board to finish that project, or whoever owned the license to it or like the ownership of it was like, no, pay me. And they were like, no. I don't know for a fact if that's the case, but I'm just like, I think it's one thing to like, you can revamp the style of things. They changed like the entirety of the game. Like they were like, no, like, who cares about catching ghouls and being cops? They were like, get out of here.
Okay, so the last topic is actually somebody made a video responding to a segment from our last Otome news, which this is the first time anything like this has happened to us. I think that video did definitely reach beyond our usual viewer base. We happened to upload it during a time when like people were just talking about Love and Deepspace, as well as Infinity Nikki was like in the news. The Trash Case Boys, that podcast, they reviewed Love and Deepspace. Like, it was just randomly buzzing online. I think that's why it got picked up by a lot of people that don't normally watch us. There's a video by Gacha Goblin, that's the name of the person who reacted to that segment. Video response is called A Common Misconception, and her two main points were like against what we were saying, because she had some disagreements with our coverage of it. Number one was Love and Deepspace would not work as a console game. That was in reaction to us saying like we would be interested in it if it was on console.
It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna work out. This is not gonna work with Love and Deepspace. This game makes money because of all of the memories that come out and the fact that, you know, there is a very long wait time for main story updates. They're not going to release that much main story in a game, and a lot of it is actually very text heavy. A lot of the content, a lot of the lore is a bunch of reading. So this DLC or this base console game would end up being a book on a screen that you would have to read through, and I don't know who would really want to play that.
And then her second point was that free-to-play base is actually extremely valuable to gacha companies, and this is in reaction to me saying that I was confused if that you're 100% free-to-play, why you would think that the company would be caring about your opinion of it not being as easy to be free-to-play anymore. So that was my opinion, and she said, actually, companies really care about free-to-play.
A company and a corporation cannot just depend on the whales to make them money. They also need investors, and the investors will put down money for the game if they can see that there is a huge player retention rate in a gacha game. And that retention rate is coming from the free-to-play players and the low spenders in the game.
We actually left a comment on the video just to kind of give our thoughts on those items and a couple of other little things she said. So I'll read it really quick, but we have a lot more to say, so I'll have timestamps of when we go into that. So here's our comments. We just gave a few quick points. I'll just briefly go into it. So one, she commented saying she wasn't sure what our experience level with gacha games was. So I just said we've dabbled in mobile games, including Love and Deepspace when it launched. We have friends who still play, but you correctly assessed that we do not personally like gacha games. Our channel focuses primarily on traditional story-driven Otome titles, be it mobile or console. However, we can't deny the new Otome fans Love and Deepspace has created, and that's why we always cover it when it pops up in the news. Number two, our concerns with the gacha model. Even when players set healthy limits, the system relies on randomized rewards that resemble gambling and can encourage overspending for items with no lasting value. That's the core reason we criticize it. I think a lot of people, even just in the comments, were like, you know, obviously defending their love of the gacha style games, and that's our reason that we have an issue with it, because we do feel that it's a vice. Obviously, we know people can just play it responsibly, or they have the means and it's not an issue. That's totally cool. That's just our gripe with it. The third point, why we advocated for a console release. Basically, 99% of commercial Otome games are simply choice-based visual novels. So that kind of format, akin to a book, like you said, does in fact sell, and we'll go more into that in this video. We'd love to see a fresh title with the production value that Love and Deepspace has land on console, because we think it would thrive there. But that said, we definitely know that Love and Deepspace wants to say a gacha for the money. Our point was simply that there are tons of well-respected and high-revenue earning console games, and if the argument is that they care about their players, then why not still earn a lot and satisfy those who don't want to be sucked into a long-term spendy gacha model? They won't though, and we are well aware of that, because she did make several points of like just questioning why we would even ask for that, because obviously they want to state gacha. It was less of like a serious request that we think we're not delusional. We know that they're not going to create a console game because people would like that. Like, we know that they want to make more money. Point 4, free-to-play versus low-spend audiences. Are they a focus? So it was cool to hear her thoughts, because she is a gacha player and enjoys this model. But she was mixing free-to-play and low-spend together and saying those are priorities for the company. We still have some differences of opinion there. There is a distinction between free-to-play and low spend. We still feel that completely free-to-play users are not a priority for them. Occasional diamond giveaways only serve to show what spending feels like and nudge players towards micro purchases. And then low spend, on the other hand, I do think that they target those with those diamond giveaways, etc., because small repeated transactions do add up. But to say that the zero spend free-to-play users are driving design decisions or are a huge topic of conversation in boardrooms, I disagree with that. Especially for this game, which is already wildly successful and not looking for investors likely at this time, which was one of their main points. They said, oh, it's for investors, it's for investors. They don't really need that at this point, and the revenue is what they care more about than retention. It's more of just an added benefit that they are getting that retention number than something that they really focus on. That's the video, that's our comment. And so now we have a little bit more we wanted to say on that in our video, just to add some color and context. I'm gonna pass it to Jan to give a little bit more of our thoughts.
Yeah, so I just want to start off saying, yeah, the biggest comment, of course, commentary that stood out to me was the idea that like this game not being a console. I want to say two things. First, I'm going to say, or like, because it's a visual novel style, and that's nobody would like that. That is a huge misconception. Romance books alone are actually the highest selling genre ever. They sell in the billions. So now you take that to a video game where we can romance a 2D guy that we like. That is in the millions. 1.9 million, I think that's the number, and that's like a rough estimate. It's just how many players that there are that exist that we know of. And in the US alone, Otome alone, that makes those style games primarily, made $5 million. That's a lot for a game that's between $35 to $50 for players, and they builds community. We all talk about it, we all deal with it. We may not always like every single game, but it gives us that sense of community. So to say that that wouldn't be like a popular, nobody would like that, that's untrue, because without those kinds of games, Love and Deepspace would not exist. I don't know how to explain that in a I'm not being confidential, I'm saying it's a fact. Love and Deepspace ultimately is an Otome game in a way. They just have a different style that they have, a different gameplay model that they have. An Otome game like Angelique is less of the story-based text and more of the gameplay element. It doesn't make it that it's not an Otome game. So that's just the facts. An Otome game is always wanted. I will play Otome games till the day I die. So that's just it. Also, a game, and I will recognize this in technology perspectives. A lot of us are now getting used to the 1 terabyte phones, but I remember when we would get like 64 or 16 gigabyte phones. A lot of phones in like Japan, Taiwan, mainland China, Hong Kong, those are like little supercomputers. So 30 gigabytes on their phone mean nothing, but it does mean a lot here because it makes your phone hot. It just is such a huge heavy thing to have on your phone at once for one singular app. I'm sorry, but it is from a technical perspective, especially because the RAM on your phone is much less. So it tends to get hot, it tends to lag. These things just happen, but it can work. I'll use daily rewards. Hello Kitty Island Adventure has daily rewards, and you don't have to have gacha. You don't have, it was on the phone, but it moved to the console and it works just fine. Do you know why? Because they can still do that on a console. That was our point. something could totally work on console. And I know that not everybody has a console. I'm not saying that they should wipe it off of the, you know, phones. I'm just saying maybe lessen or optimize it better, especially for a phone that a game that I assume works optimally on the cloud could easily offset things all the time. They just don't. So I find that weird that they don't do that, but all of these apps could absolutely work on a console, and I've seen it happen. A gacha game that was originally on the app was the Danganronpa Summer School one. That was a gacha game that's now on console that still uses the gacha mechanics. So it's not impossible, it just happens. But anyway, to my next point is what the main point of gacha, in my opinion, is outside of like the money and all of that. It's actually to have as much content pumping out as possible. That's why it's so popular. That's why it works, because it gives you a quick satisfaction. You get cards, you get all these things, and they're kind of quick right away. That's what the banners are for. I think it's odd for a game that's been out nearly a year and a half to only have 2 main story updates, when they could have actually just come out the gate with like, even if it was 3 seasons of a content, right? So it's like happens, and now they're waiting to release. So like once every 6 months is insane to me when there shows that they don't care about the storyline, when isn't that what hooked everybody in? Comment below, obviously, if you feel differently, like you don't care about the main story content. That's fine. I think it's odd though that you wouldn't, because what else would get you into the story? Like the cards can only do so much, and then you have nothing main story wise about the characters. Now, to address, there are several levels. There's the whales, there's the like low spenders, and then there's like maybe mid-tier spenders, and of course there's like the free to play. Now, a lot of the focus, the comments sometimes were, well, of course they're not truly focused on the whales. That is correct. They're not focused on the whales because those are guaranteed spenders, but they do need the whales because they are going to play a key specific part into getting low spenders to mid spenders and free to play players to eventually spend. How do they do this? This is a business tactic on what they're going to do. They're going to pressure you. It's hooked with a psychological thought process, right? So from the surface, it's free to download. Technically, it's free to play. You can participate. They give you some login rewards. So you get all of this stuff at once and you feel like, cool, incentivized to play. Everybody else is playing it. You don't want to miss out. So you're like, cool, I want to do all of this. And you get to meet all these characters. You know, they get to collect cards. All of that is the standard gacha style. But when you get deeper into it, there's levels of the cards. I think it's SSR is the top one, and then they have like everybody, like not random but common cards. That just happens. So they know this, and they put a percentage on how you can get the SSR cards. They use this as a way to keep you to like using all of your diamonds, all of the free rewards you get to try to get that, even though they know it's a lower percentage. They also have it as a limited release on these like banners and stuff, so that everybody fears missing out and joins in right away, and then they stop it. You may not get whatever you want, but it's more than that. You feel like an emotional connection because we all like a specific character. Like it just is what it is, right? Take it from like levels to like K-pop, right? I love BTS, but I'm a V girl specifically. I'm gonna always get my man's stuff. Like, oh, he got a card, I'm gonna get it because I want it, because I like him as a character. This is no different in gacha style because it's basically like your boyfriend. Like that's how you feel. I've seen girls say I'm a Caleb girl, I'm a Silas girl. I think there's Xavier. I would never personally date Xavier because that's my brother's name. So, but
Raphael.
Yeah, Raphael, and you just, all you want to do is get it. And they do these frequently enough that you can pull things, but just not enough to get the guy that you want. And maybe you do. Sometimes you're lucky. That's kind of the whole point. You feel lucky enough to get it. But the point is you want it so badly that you'll spend, even if you justify to yourself, I'm going to spend a little amount to get the guy. Maybe you get him, maybe you don't. I remember when we talked about Mr. Love, and a girl told us and commented that she spent $2,000 in an hour to get one card that I could Google for free. That's like so insane to me. And I'm not saying that you can't spend money or you shouldn't. I'm just saying like that is what we're talking about. That's their whole goal. So they do this in other ways too. The daily logins is to keep you on a loop, to keep logging in for your rewards. If you have a little monthly VIP sign up, it's to keep you to always continually log in. Even down to the period tracker, so that the character is constantly talking to you. You think about it, you go in, you want to spend, you play a little bit, and then you get tired and then you do it. That is like their whole entire model to continue to get you in. They even have things like, oh, a top-up offer. So it's like you have this reward. If you buy it for the first time, you get these little specialty rewards, and then you got it and then you want more of it. So then you buy it again, and then you log in the next day and you get all of these things when everything happens, because it's the first time or the first 24 hours and it's all these limited things. We do this, and same thing when we do sales. Like not Kayla and I, but I'm saying like in a general, I'm going to buy this on Black Friday because it's only limited to this time, because you want it. So you're going to do it right then and there. That's kind of the whole point of it. Now, once you actually get into the story, like lots of people have commented, you have to grind, and it's pretty hard so that you can get through to the next level of something. It may not be the main story, but it might be something else in it, and it requires you to get a higher card. If you don't have the higher cards, how are you going to get it? It's this hamster wheel of I have to do more to get not less, but like a minimal prize. So yeah, you might start as free to player, but their entire hope is to see, have they logged in? Are they logging in? What can we get them? What is the things that they click on? An app, all apps, you can track anything somebody does in your app, how long they're on it. Not every app does that or needs to do that, but I'm saying they'll know from the click of your button, this person, this user, or whatever it is, spent 15 minutes just on this screen. Maybe they'll buy it if we do this and do this and do this. That's kind of their whole point. So to their point, do they kind of care that you're just logging in and seeing that you're on it? Yes, so that they can use that for marketing purposes later to market a specific product that you want, so then that you can get it. And again, it's not like you're just pulling for stats. You're pulling for your man. That's like their whole entire intent. They want you to lob on to 1 to 2 guys and pray to God that you like him and that you want to romanticize him. So that's where these cards come in, and you get to do. Love and Deepspace entered a different realm. It's not just that it's a card. It's a 3D character of the guy that you can kind of touch and he makes noises. I think the only other app that kind of did this was What the Hell is Bad? I mean, they're less of the 3D model, but it's kind of similar to that, a little bit more on the, I would say, provocative side.
Yeah.
Love and Deepspace took it to another level. So you're really pulling for a man. You get to customize your character. You get all these specialty outfits. I think Infinity Nikki kind of does a similar thing of this. So it's a lot to be desired. So I don't want to say that free-to-play players are irrelevant. They are important to the game because it's the low spenders and mid spenders that keep the game going. And without them, how can they convince the others? Also, free-to-play players actually serve a huge purpose to these companies, because even if you're free to play, you're talking about that game, you're posting your screenshots, you're giving them promotion in some way. So they may not be monetizing off of your direct bank account. They're getting you some way by promoting the game, which isn't a bad thing. And I want to touch on this because I think we got misunderstood by saying like they shouldn't be making any money off of you. No. That's crazy. Every business has got to make money somehow. That's how they do stay sustained. It wouldn't be fair to the artists, the modelers, the game developers to make nothing for all of their hard work. That definitely takes years. And I would say, when I say years, it probably took years in the making. So again, super crazy to me that they only had 2 main story updates, but to each its own. If you don't care, that's fine. I don't think that they shouldn't make money. I think that the way that they do it is not a lasting thing. We've seen it with Obey Me, who's on their 3rd app. Mr. Love, like they had 2 apps, one of them went away. A3, Utano Prince Sama, even the Shall We Date series, like they don't last forever because there's no foreseeable end. And then people move on, or they're like, I don't understand where this is going, or they just make no freaking sense. And so you're like, yeah, why am I doing this? I'll compare it to something like Twisted Wonderland, right? Twisted Wonderland technically works in books. And while it's definitely not my style of game, you at least know that there's a conclusionary end to each set of books. So whether you play all of the books or only one of the books, you know that there's a justifiable end and you can feel satisfied with that and move on with your life. But can you all tell me what the end of of Love and Deepspace is going to be? No, because you don't know. And they may not ever end it. They may just stop one day and that's kind of it. So again, I'm not saying you shouldn't play Gacha. If that's your style and that's your speed, Godspeed. It just isn't mine. Do I think that it could work Gacha mechanics on a console? Yeah, it actually can, because I've seen it happen where they have basically in-game currency. You pay $160 fee and then you have a shit ton of DLC. It's totally fine to do it that way because you'd still make all the money. And to say it, and I will reiterate this again, games like Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Persona 5, all of the Mario series, any GameCube I used to play, The Story of Seasons, all of those games are multi-million-dollar companies, so that's not like they can't be the same. They just choose not to be. And I don't like that because I feel like it preys on people who, they want to be involved in the community, but they want to like these games too, and then they find themselves spending money that they didn't think they were going to spend. Even if it's $20, if you didn't have it to spend, that's a lot of money. So that's kind of like my overall rant. I think that they've done something innovative, and I hope that they continue to do something innovative, including the community. I just wish that they would consider the players. And that brings me to our next topic, and I'll let Kayla obviously comment on her thoughts, and then we'll talk about the next topic that also falls under misconception.
Yes, I do feel like people misunderstood us in saying like, oh, so you think they shouldn't make any money just because it's a gacha game? No, like, of course not. There are other ways to make money, though, that aren't gacha. And it's more of just our issue with the mechanic because of, like we've already stated, while it doesn't happen to everybody, there are a lot of people who get sucked in and overspend beyond their means. And that's why they make so much money. Otome making $5 million in a year. Love and Deepspace probably makes more than that in a single month. And how do you think that is? It's because they are taking advantage of people. And just because you're able to play it and not feel taken advantage of, or you have the means to where it doesn't bother you, that doesn't mean that it's morally correct. And that's like our issue with it. Another thing that I felt we were misunderstood, we're not saying that you don't matter if you're free to play. My only point was that if you're gonna be free to play and say, hey, you're not making this easy enough for free to play, I just think at this point, they're good. Like, they are okay. Like, they're gonna continue to make money. And I think they've used you guys for what they needed to become popular, and they're probably not going to change their model. Another thing that I want to say is I saw a lot of people in the comments saying, I don't get how people can complain about the situation with Love and Deepspace because XYZ company is so much worse. They're so much more predatory. So let's not even talk about Love and Deepspace. They're actually doing a good thing in the gacha space. And it's like, just because something's worse doesn't mean that we can't talk about something bad in the same token. Like, this is going to sound like an extreme example, but like to say somebody shouldn't get in trouble for beating somebody up on the street because this other guy murdered somebody. So why are we even talking about the guy who beat somebody up on the street? It's like, no, like, it's all bad, and we can have space to talk about everything if we want to. So yeah, that was just kind of like some additional things that I wanted to add, because I felt like Gacha Goblin's video saying like what we said was a common misconception. I felt it in the reverse, like you guys were having a common misconception about what people who don't like gacha were saying.
Yeah, that's actually a good point too. Like, Mr. Love, all of them might be worse in how they're doing it, but the common denominator is that they're all doing a similar type of thing, so they're all wrong. Like, that's the bigger picture. Is that what we're trying to say? Another common comment that we got too was that like a lot of people, when we made our first video, were really upset and we were commenting, and saw this in the like Otome circle of like, we don't want to comment on anything that they're doing wrong because then they won't give us anything. First of all, that's not true. Are you kidding me? They want the money. At the end of the day, they want money. If they didn't want money, it wouldn't be here. And I'll use one example. It's when people used to come at me or say to me that I should not demand a character that looks like me, that could sound like me. None of that. That's bullshit. As soon as you localize and globalize a game, I'm allowed to ask for whatever I want because I'm a customer, and if you want my money, I should get things that I want. I'm not saying every little small thing, okay? That's just not going to happen. However, you can take constructive criticism, and the only way to meet these people where they in a language that they understand is money. I'm going to use a huge example first. Target. I have not shopped at Target since January. A lot of my peers have not shopped at Target. A lot of people in this sphere have not shopped at Target. And if you look at the news, they're steadily losing money. We talked with our wallets and said, I will not shop there until things are different. If I feel that that's going to change. And what do you know? It's working. Kayla and I'll use a small example. Kayla and I, we're trying to come in and change our Otome sphere because we love games like Tokimeki and gameplay, but we're not subjugated to never getting criticism or things that people would like different in our game. We want to make sure everyone feels included. And a lot of people actually really liked Suki. I'm sorry guys, we're not going to do Toma. You know, he's our brother.
That's too far.
But a lot of people did really like Suki and wish that they could date Suki. I mean, that's kind of their tea. And we were like, oh, well, we always thought it was as a best friend route. But when we came back to the drawing table, in the months that we did before we relaunched our Kickstarter, which by the way, if you have not checked out our Kickstarter, totally check it out. We're hopefully going to get to our goals soon, guys. But anyway, we were like, what is wrong with adding Suki as a route? You guys are best friends. It's totally plausible. We should just write this with in earnest. And now we're adding that as a potential option for you if you so choose to date Suki. That's taking constructive criticism and listening to the audience that we care about and adding the changes to it. And that's not just that, even to our Kickstarter goals and how we wrote it. We care about what people say, and I'm not saying that Love and Deepspace doesn't. I'm saying they should care about what people say too, and they do. That's why they want to make their fans happy, because one, for them, it more or less is money motivated, but there is part of them that says that they care about this community. That's why they've made the changes that they do. So to tell people you shouldn't do this, it's a fad, don't tell them they're not going to do it. Yes, they will. They're not going to just disappear. And even if they disappeared, if they decided like, hey, there's too much negative feedback, we're going to pull out. Why on God's green earth would you say, well, I want to keep investing into this game? That's crazy. I would not. If a game just randomly like threw a temper tantrum and said, we're getting out of here, I would be devastated because all my money's just gone and nowhere, up in flames. No, they should hear what they're doing wrong. That way that they can make meaningful changes. You guys, without you guys, they would not exist as a company for the game here. So I'm confused.
Exactly.
So I don't think that, if you feel like, hey, I'm not going to make a negative content because we're lucky to get what you get, I can't change your mind on that. I'm just saying, see it from their perspective and understand meaningful change has to come from a very strong tongue of saying, this is what's happening. And if it's not changed, I can't continue to be a consumer and see the changes that could happen and maybe support people. I don't know. Your guys' decision.
I feel like we see it so much more in like just the Otome sphere in general because we're relying on localizations from Japan for the primary source of content. So there's a lot of, I feel, unwarranted fear in our community where they're like, oh guys, please don't criticize this, please don't criticize that, or they're just going to not give us games anymore. That's just like ridiculous. And it's such a juvenile perspective to have because think about it like logically. If a company entered this market to make money and they see that the money's starting to go down because people are asking for something, do you think they're just going to leave the market entirely or just make the change and make more money? If their whole goal is to make money, they're going to make change. And I think when people complain, that's their intent, is for change. We're not complaining to see people go out of business by any means at all. We want to see more Otome games. It's only with the intent of positive change. And that being said, when it comes to Love and Deepspace, when we said what we said that it's possible and that they could be respectable about the way they run their business. Do we think that that is realistic and that they're actually going to do that? No, because tons of people don't care, for one. There's not enough people speaking with their wallets, as you said, Yana. And two, like, why go to $5 million a year when you could make $5 million a month, like, off of this behavior with gacha mechanics? So
yeah,
we get it.
Think about that too, how much they make a month. If everybody in the Love and Deepspace, and not even, if even 10%, 10 to 15% just stop spending on a one event, it would make enough of a rupture that they would pay attention. Like, that's it. 10%. All they would have to do is, I'm not spending any of this. They would lose their shit and be like, okay, what do we need to do to change it? So that's just thought.
Yeah.
Money, pennies for your thoughts.
Well, that's it for this Otome news. It's going to be a little bit of a long one because we're like ranting about our thoughts, but hopefully nobody took anything personally. It's just a discussion. It's fun to talk about. We love talking about stuff in the Otome space. But yeah, let us know your thoughts below, and we will see you guys next time.
If you have not checked out Snowkiss Romance, there is a demo out on itch.io, Steam for Mac and Windows. And we would love if you guys stream it, talk about it, and potentially donate to our Kickstarter. And if you cannot donate, sharing any comments about it is still super helpful for us. We are hoping to get to our goal so that we can release an awesome Mega Snowkiss Romance game. It's our project, baby. There's going to be gameplay in it. There's so much more to go. And so, yeah, that's all I have. So, yeah, check us out on all our links and also follow us on all of our platforms.
Bye.
Bye.
I have a question for you. Do you think that brown can work in a summer nail set? This was my best attempt at it. I had several naysayers saying that brown cannot be in a summer set, but I think it's giving Hawaiian Tropic. Let me know what you think. You want to show your nails?
These are the thumbs.
Nail cam.